So in this video, we're going to have a look at how we look up NOTAMs, or notice to airmen. So another absolutely key part of pre-flight planning and part of our want brief. So there's a few sources to looking NOTAMs up. So the only official source for looking NOTAMs up is the NATS website. I'm going to talk you through that, but you'll see that it's a little bit on the clunky side. But it is, as I say, absolutely the only official source of NOTAMs. There's then a number of other sites that you can use that simplify and I think give you a better display, but they come with the caveat that they are not official sources. And the one we're going to talk through today is how to use SkyDemon, which is probably the most common piece of software that is used in general aviation, and pretty much everybody that I come across in GA uses SkyDemon for planning, but also for looking up things like NOTAMs as well. So in order to look up NOTAMs on the NATS website, if you just Google NATS Aeronautical Information Service, and you need to set up for a free account. And once you're set up, it'll take you to this page. So you need to look at the NOTAM briefing page. So that's where all the sources of the information are. By all means, spend some time clicking through the other headings. There's loads and loads and loads of information contained in there around NOTAMs. So then we're going to click on pre-flight briefing, and we're going to select a route PIB. So we're going to route from, in this case, we're going to route from Leeds Bradford up to Teesside, and we're going to look how we pop that in. So it's a fairly straightforward form to complete. So that PIB reference, you can just put any number in there. I just put 1 in there. I think more for commercial use, they may, companies may put certain references in. And then we're going from EGNM to EGNV, and then our alternate is going to be Humberside. We're not crossing any FIR boundaries. We're going to look it up from flight level 20, so around 2,000 feet to 10,000 feet, and we're going to put the date in, and then we're going to hit generate. And it produces this initially. So it looks quite busy, but as with anything, with experience, you can look these up quite quickly and understand them quite quickly. I think it's really useful. This first page is the aerodrome information. And I wouldn't worry too much about the lats and longs. But what it does do is gives us a really nice overview of everything that's going on the airfield, both our departure and if you were to scroll down at Teesside. So we can have a scan through and see if there's anything on there that's going to affect us. So there's some things happening at Leeds Bradford that affect some of the larger aircraft, but aren't going to affect us for our flight. You can then click on map. So this is where I think it gets a little bit busy. So all the information is on here. And it puts circles around all of the different NOTAMs and then summarizes them at the top. So you can click on them at the top, and you can also change the levels down the right hand side if you've typed in the wrong level when you first pop them on. And you can have a play and say there's various different levels, and you can click on them and it'll give you more detail. If you want to look up a particular circle or a particular NOTAM, if you click within that circle, it will tell you, for instance, on this one, the Southern Complex danger areas are active. So this is a military training complex. And that tells us it's from 5,000 feet up to 66,000 feet. So that's been there for quite a long time now, that big complex for training. And then the final page is the charts information, which may or may not be useful at this stage in your training. So certainly these instrument approach charts aren't particularly useful, but the one that is useful, if you could scroll down to the bottom, is aerodrome chart and aerodrome parking chart. So if you've not got access to the aerodrome charts using other software, then you can click on there and it takes you to the AIP and that relevant chart on there. And these are all downloadable, so you can click anything that you want to download, and then there's a final stage to click to download. So that's our official source of looking up NOTAMs. So get used to being able to look that up and be ready to demonstrate that to the examiner when you do your skills test. That said, there's other sources of doing this, and as I've said before, probably the most common one is Sky Demon, which, as I say, most GA aviators tend to use. And I just think I'm a huge fan of Sky Demon, and I promise I'm not getting paid by Sky Demon. I just think it's a really intuitive, really easy piece of software to use. So you click on route at that top corner, and I'm not going to go through this in any detail because it's really obvious, even more obvious than the previous one. You type in your takeoff airfield, click next, type in your destination, click next, and then put your alternate and click next. And then it produces the line on the chart. So we're flying from here to here, and then our alternate is down there if we ever needed that. And then if we click the NOTAM tab on the right hand side of the page, it just lists them really nicely. So it breaks them down, puts them in nice clear language, and then you can click on each individual one and it will expand it and give more detail. The other thing that it does, which I think is really nice, is it depicts them really quite nicely over the top of the chart. So you can see that danger area that we looked up before on the AIS website is depicted really quite clearly there. And this is that danger area complex from flight level 50 upwards. So we can scroll through and, as I say, make a note of any NOTAMs that are relevant to us. The other thing that it's really good at is, as I say, being able to easily look either side of our route and look quite carefully how they're going to affect us. So we can see there's a rat just on the northern edge of the Leeds CTA, and that's Menwith Hill. So we can see that we're going to fly quite close to that if we were to fly direct. In reality, we'd probably be going out via Ekup. So we might, or Harrogate, so we would be giving it a bit of a wider berth, but we can see that that's there and that's potentially relevant to us. But if we click on it, it will expand and give us more information. If we read it, it's a restricted area, temporary, but it's for UAS only, so it's for drones only. So something that's not going to affect us. But it gives us additional details. Sometimes you may need to fly over something and you've got no choice but to fly over it. And often, and it'll do the same on the AIS website, it'll give you a phone number to call, particularly things that are temporary. There might be surveys, there might be danger areas. So they might not be active all of the time. So there'll be a phone number on there. And if you're unsure, don't ever be afraid to pick up the phone and give them a call. And they'd much rather you call them in advance and have a conversation, explain what you need to do, and do you know what, you may well be able to negotiate something to be able to transit through a danger area or through some sort of restricted airspace if you need to. Okay, and that's it really. So as you can see, the process of looking them up is really quite straightforward depending which method you decide to use. But I can't emphasize how vital it is that you do this for absolutely every single flight you do. Even if it's a flight you make all the time and you think that you're familiar with that piece of airspace, that's the day that it's going to catch you out. And it could endanger yourself, it could endanger others, and it could cause you to bust airspace, which could ultimately result in consequences for your license. So lots and lots of reasons why NOTAMs are important and why we need to understand them and why we need to mitigate flying around them often. So thanks for listening, and as ever with any of the videos that we produce, if you find other tools that you think are better at looking up NOTAMs, we'd be really interested to hear about them. And as ever, if you have any questions and you're not if you're unsure about something when you look a NOTAM up, then have a chat with one of the team at V&E and we'll happily go through with you and explain it to you and help you understand what the consequences of a particular NOTAM is.